Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into something interesting, Marshall Hayner's vision for crypto's future. It's laid out in this piece called Becoming the Bitcoin Superpower.
Yeah.
And it's more than just ideas on paper, right? It feels like a direct challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to unpack his main argument. And it's pretty bold. He's saying that for the U.S. to really lead in crypto globally, we need a major shift away from what he calls the centralized cabal of proof-of-work mining.
Yeah, it's not just about the energy debate, though that's part of it. It's really about control.
Exactly, control.
That's the heart of it. Hayner basically argues the current setup, well, it hasn't delivered on the decentralization promise. So the goal he sets out is threefold. First, get rid of the need for specialized hardware.
Okay.
Second, cut out the massive energy waste. And third, this is the critical bit, rebalance decentralization below 51%.
Rebalance below 51%. We'll need to unpack that.
For sure. And the tool he proposes for all this, it's the metal blockchain developed by his company Metallicus.
Right. So Hayner kicks things off by pointing out this paradox with Bitcoin. The very thing meant to secure its freedom. Proof of work, he argues, it's actually created a huge centralization risk. We kind of know this happens, but what's the strategic danger he sees?
Well, what the source material does quite well is show that transition, from this sort of idealistic idea, a protocol, to this industrial reality.
Yeah.
It's not people running nodes in their garages anymore, is it? We're talking huge factory-scale mining operations. You see the images, right? Server racks, robotics, often clustered in places where electricity is cheap.
Like China, historically, though that's shifted a bit.
Right. And Hayner's point isn't just that it's inefficient, although he thinks it is. It's that this clustering, this corporate concentration, makes the whole system fragile.
Fragile how?
Well, when just a few big players control a significant chunk of the validation power, even if it's not quite 51%, yet they get, let's say, disproportionate influence over which transactions get confirmed and in what order.
So the decentralized dream becomes controlled by whoever can afford the biggest warehouse and the cheapest power. Not exactly the community ideal.
Precisely. It kind of morphs into something controlled by incumbents, maybe even financial ones, rather than the distributed network it was meant to be.
And the hardware, the specialized chips, the ASICs, that's the gatekeeper, isn't it?
That's the lock and key, yeah. The moment you need that specific, expensive hardware to participate in securing the network, you've basically shut the door on the anyone, anywhere idea.
It becomes a question of capital. Who can afford to play?
Exactly. So if true decentralization is your strategic aim, relying on that kind of hardware is, well, it's a major weakness, according to Hayner. It limits who can participate, where they can participate from. It just funnels control.
Okay, so if proof of work and its hardware dependence are the problem, the solution Hayner and Metallicus propose is pretty dramatic. They didn't just tweak Bitcoin. They actually rewrote Bitcoin core using proof of stake. That sounds like major surgery.
It's fundamental. Yeah. Really profound change to the core architecture. And when you think about why this matters for, say, getting big institutions involved, two massive roadblocks have always been there, which are, one, the environmental footprint of POW, huge energy consumption. Two, the difficulty of layering on things like identity verification and compliance in a way that regulators trust.
Right.
So this POS rewrite tackles the first one head on. The metal blockchain, according to the source, uses something like 1/1,000,000th of the energy of proof of work.
Okay, hold on. 1 million. That sounds aspirational. Is there backup for that number, like technical details, or is it more of a, marketing claim? Because if that's even close to accurate, it changes everything.
A massive claim, no doubt. And it highlights the fundamental difference in how consensus is achieved, right? POS avoids the computational arms race of POW instead of miners competing with brute force hashing.
Validators are chosen to confirm blocks, often based on the stake they hold.
Exactly. It's cryptographic validation, not speculative computation. The source implies the comparison stems from that inherent difference. The main takeaway they're pushing is the sheer scale of energy reduction possible when you ditch the POW competition.
Okay. Assuming that efficiency gain holds up under scrutiny, this architectural shift does more than just save energy. You mentioned accessibility.
Yeah, it gets rid of the need for those specialized ASICs. So theoretically, anyone with enough stake can participate from home, making it more inclusive.
But hang on, here's the pushback you always hear with POS, and it's a fair question. Doesn't it just swap hardware centralization for wealth centralization. The rich get richer, the biggest stakeholders control the network. How does Hayner's vision address that, preventing POW giants from just becoming POS giants?
That is absolutely the critical point, and it comes down to governance design. It's not just that you can stake, but how the validators are chosen, how they're incentivized, how the network rules are maintained. The Metal blockchain apparently has built-in governance mechanisms, things like transparency rules, compliance layers baked in, designed specifically to manage how validators operate and, importantly, to try and prevent any one entity from getting too much control.
And that ties into the institutional angle.
Directly. Because it's a modern build, it supports smart contracts, which DeFi and institutions need. And crucially, it has compliance features integrated from the start. Things needed to meet regulations like the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA.
BSA. So things like anti-money laundering, AML, know your customer, KYC.
Exactly. The kind of stuff financial institutions absolutely require.
And having that built in, rather than trying to bolt it on later, that's likely a huge difference for a bank or a credit union looking at this space.
It's potentially the key difference. It shifts the conversation from how do we make this tech compliant to this tech is designed with compliance in mind. It aims for regulatory integration, not regulatory avoidance.
Right. Okay, let's circle back to that phrase. Rebalancing decentralization below 51%.
Right.
We get the 51% attack concept, one entity controlling the majority, potentially rewriting history. But how does this specific POS system enforce staying below that? How does it stop, say, big VCs or existing financial giants from just buying up enough stake to dominate anyway?
So the below 51% goal is really about engineering trust by distributing control. The idea is the system's rules, the incentives, they're designed to encourage lots of different people and entities to stake, making it harder and less attractive for any single one to get near that 51% threshold.
Through the governance you mentioned.
Yeah, through the specific rules around validator selection, rewards, maybe even penalties for bad behavior, and ensuring those validators are geographically spread out. It aims for a more dynamic, diverse set of protectors than the fixed physical locations of large POW miners.
So it's an attempt to embed decentralization in the rules themselves.
That seems to be the philosophy. And Metallicus connects this technical goal to a bigger idea, empowering individuals again, rebuilding trust without needing old intermediaries. The source frames this as helping the U.S. and its allies lead the next wave of blockchain innovation, one based on trust and accessibility, not just raw computing power or energy use.
So it's positioning this as a bid for global leadership in defining what trusted financial infrastructure looks like, setting the standard for integrity.
Exactly, which leads us straight into how they see it being used. The source is very clear. Metal blockchain is meant as an operating system for the future of decentralized finance, and explicitly a BSA-compliant Layer 0 blockchain for financial institutions.
Layer 0, so the foundational layer.
Right. They're trying to take the core trust concept from Bitcoin, but build it into something modern, sustainable, and crucially compliant enough for traditional finance to actually use.
And you see that focus in the features they highlight, like for institutions, things like enabling private and public subnets. That seems vital for banks needing controlled environments.
Absolutely. Banks need that ability to have permission spaces for certain operations while still potentially connecting to public networks. It's about flexibility within a regulated framework.
And the compliance piece comes back with on-chain identity.
Yes,
Yes, decentralized identifiers. That, combined with the other compliance tools, is how they aim to bridge the gap. Traditional finance runs on verified identity and accountability. You need that embedded at the protocol level for them to engage seriously.
And this isn't just for internal bank stuff, right? The vision includes things like enabling banks and credit unions to issue their own stablecoins on this platform.
That's a major potential use case, yes. Stablecoin issuance, plus creating smoother connections, compliant on-ramps and off-ramps between the traditional financial system and the crypto world. Not building separate islands, but bridges.
Okay, so pulling this together, Hayner seems to be painting a picture of the industry at a fork in the road. That's a good way to put it. One path is sticking with the status quo, which he argues leads to more corporate control, energy issues, sort of a strategic dead end in terms of decentralization.
And the other path
is towards these newer blockchains, green, built for institutions, secured by a wide community, but importantly, adhering to compliance standards from the ground up.
It really frames the choice starkly. So Hayner's ultimate pitch, if I'm getting it, is Bitcoin might have been the spark for digital freedom, but something like Metal blockchain is needed to build the actual roads, the sustainable, scalable, compliant infrastructure for that freedom to operate within the global economy.
Yeah, the future isn't about who has the most mining rigs or burns the most energy.
It's about who builds the most trusted system.
The most trusted, the most interoperable, and truly decentralized financial rails. That's the measure of success he's proposing. It's about achieving maybe economic sovereignty built on verifiable integrity.
So for you listening, what does this all boil down to? This vision from Hayner really forces a tough question, doesn't it? If making crypto efficient, green, and compliant enough for mainstream banks is the key to global adoption, is the industry willing to fundamentally rethink how decentralization is secured?
Yeah, is that original, perhaps purer vision of decentralization compatible with the demands of global finance and regulation?
It is the American dream of decentralization, as the source might put it, only really possible once it's, well, BSA compliant. That's the big strategic question Hayner leaves us with.